because we had here in church the relics of Saint Benedict, the father of Western monasticism. He lived in the 5th and 6th century, and we had the relics of Saint Pio, Padre Pio, better known to us. And we had the great blessing from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. to have the relics here in church, and we're hoping that every year we can do that. Obviously, two very different saints from different time periods. Saint Benedict, as I mentioned, the great giver of the rule of Saint Benedict, a monastic rule, and we have Benedictines in the North Shore, in Covington, so they're close to us here. And then, of course, Padre Pio, who lived in the 19th and 20th century, better known as a priest and a stigmatist. He had the markings of the Passion of the Lord. So actually, one of the relics that we had yesterday was one of his gloves that was touched by his blood. So it was a first-class relic with the blood of Padre Pio. He was beatified and canonized by St. John Paul II. I always get a kick because it was a saint canonizing another saint. Now both of them are saints, and of course John Paul II had a special connection with Padre Pio, because when he was a young priest, when John Paul was a young priest, he had written to Padre Pio asking for intercession for a friend of his, and they corresponded. So they had letters that they talked about, and 32 years after his death, it was John Paul II who would canonize him. And it was really neat because we had pictures all over the church from the exhumation of Padre Pio. Part of the process of canonization is the exhumation of the body. Actually, I have some connection to seeing one of those, because when Blessed Francis Xavier SEELOS was exhumated in the church, Our Lady of the Assumption, right here 4 miles from us, I was there for the exhumation of Blessed SEELOS, when they actually opened his casket. And in the case of Padre Pio, he had died in 1968. They exhumated his body for the process much later, 30 so years later, and when they opened the casket, his body was perfectly incorrupt. It was like he had been laid there yesterday. So they have his body in the Big Marian Church in San Giovanni Rotondo, where he worked and ministered as a Capuchin priest. And we had a lot of those pictures here yesterday. It was a beautiful blessing to pray. We had some beautiful masses, a couple of masses and talks. So the first 2 hours were all of prayer, and then in the afternoon we had mass again and prayer time, and people were prayed over with the relics. And we hope that every year we can do that. The sponsoring group was the ministry that we have here in the parish, Evangelization, Liberation, and Integrity, that they have retreats every 6 weeks or so. They're in Spanish, but they have a great devotion to Saint Benedict. So it was the Feast of Saint Benedict yesterday, and they're hoping to translate all the retreats into English as well, so that everybody can benefit from the retreat. So it was a beautiful blessing. And the only other announcement, as you know, we continue to take care of our community. So the pews, you have the blue dots, that's meant to keep social distancing. We are offering the masks in the back of the church. So the news are kind of being spread that it's in big congregations or masses and religious services that the virus is spreading. We have to be careful, of course, but I think that we need to be careful too, not to exaggerate and to think that we cannot gather and pray. You go to Walmart and that's pretty packed, and I don't hear anybody complaining about that. And I think we're doing a great job here as you come and pray and you're able to take care of each other. So just be mindful. The seating arrangement, I think that the mask is appropriate. If you feel compromised and if you are going to be in close proximity, you are helping other people as well, and I think we're doing a great job. I'm very happy and proud that we never closed this church from the very beginning. We did have 2 or 3, maybe 4 weekends that we only could, for the Sunday masses, live stream the masses at the request of the Archbishop, but for the most part, we've been open. He did told us from the beginning, he did tell us from the beginning, just say your Mass. He encouraged priests to say daily Mass, and the people that were there in the congregation, they could receive communion and they could be present. So we've done all that, and he is certainly concerned that we take care of each other and not be blamed in a way for spreading the virus, but taking good care of our community. So we're striving to do that. And as I prayed in the beginning of the Mass, I really pray that a lot of the fear, the anxiety, what is out there, that it may be dispelled. And with the authority that God gives me as a priest, we can pray for that, and I pray for that every day, because I know there's a lot of fear still out there, and we need to pray to the Holy Spirit to kind of deliver us from any fear, and to know that as we're doing good things, and certainly being rational and taking care of each other, we're fine. And I think we've had some beautiful Masses here and beautiful services, and we need to encourage that and to motivate you. So I pray with you, and your presence and being here is a great example to me as well, because I see your faith, your commitment to the Lord, and that's very important. So I commend you all for that. Let us continue praying for each other. Let us stand as we conclude our liturgy today.